everyone. Welcome back to episode 20 of the Talk of Fame podcast. I'm Kylie, and today we have an actor and host of the Davern podcast, Brett Davern. Thank you so much for coming on, Brett. It's a pleasure speaking with you.
Absolutely. Let me and not to just correct you right off the bat, but just so we get it, it's Davern. It rhymes with cavern, rhymes with tavern. My mom doesn't like me to say it rhymes with tavern because that implies drinking or something. I don't know. So whatever you want, rhymes with cavern, davern, however you want to say
it. Yeah, at least I know for future things. So we signed up. Thank you for that. So
hey, thank you for having me on here. This is awesome. Thank you for reaching out. And I'm really glad we could do this.
Of course, thank you so much for coming on. I can't wait to speak with you about your career and stuff. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day. So
sure. Well, I'm yours. Go for it.
Yeah, 100%. So over the last year, we've been stuck in quarantine. So what is something that you did over the last year that you wouldn't have time to do before?
Well, I mean, look, this is going to sound like I'm just shamelessly plugging my podcasts and things, but in all seriousness, like my partner, Katie, and I, my business partner, Katie, and I, we have been doing this podcast or this morning show for a little bit before the pandemic kind of hit, really in March of 2020. And so we'd already been doing it. We had our feet wet. We had a good rhythm going. But then everything went down and everybody went inside and, you know, the whole world shut down. And as far as acting goes, like all of the auditions were not happening. Casting offices were closed. Agencies were closing left and right. And so we just kind of looked at each other. We're like, hey, we've already got this little thing going here. Let's just keep, go fully into it. And now we have 4 different podcasts and I'm on 5 of them, maybe. I don't even know if that's mathematically possible, but so really it's kind of, not to just give like a business answer, but that our business did really just become our hobby and is sort of what we threw ourselves into. And we just had to get creative. I mean, because that's what we were missing with acting and auditioning and going on meetings and talking about projects in that kind of world. So we dove into podcasts and really like I couldn't be happier with it. Katie, I don't want to speak for her, but I think she's having a good time too. And so yeah, the other thing I did, not to talk for too long, but the other thing I did is I started camping, like for real. So
what type of camping do you usually do? What do you do inside, or inside like cabins, or you just sleep in like a little tent?
Oh no, we're talking about out in the middle of the woods in a tent. Like walk out, hike out, bring a backpack. I've done that a bunch of times during the pandemic, but also I built myself this like camping truck that I can also sleep in, and it's got like shelves and cabinets, and so we do that too. But I guess that would be more my hobby outside of work and stuff.
But, 100%. Like during the quarantine, in neighborhood this year, I figured out like, oh, I should do this my whole podcast thing. Because I have 2 journalists in my family that do journalism for my local news company down the road, about like 10, 15 minutes away. And people always say like, because I'm a big sports fan and stuff, I knew a lot going on in sports and in the industry. And people always mention me every time I'm at like family events or whatever. They'll be like, Kylie, journalism would be perfect for you. Like,
yeah,
you should do it. But then like, I'm like, okay, whatever you say. Like, I never took it as serious until the pandemic hit. So I'm like, I never had time to actually think about it until the pandemic.
Now's the time, yeah. I mean, it's also like the technology has caught up, like getting people on Zoom. I mean, for us, in the before times, that's what I call them. We would have to have people come into the studio and they'd have to drive in and fight traffic. And we're on in the morning and who knows if they were even in town or not. And now, I mean, like, I don't even know where in the world you are and you don't really even know where in the world I am, but here we can be. And it just makes everybody more accessible. And I find that, and I don't know how you find in getting guests, but for us on our shows, it's almost been easier because, people can just be sort of in their pajamas. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I'm usually in my pajamas most of the time. Like, I'm like, I don't care how I from like not shown on Zoom. Like, I don't care how I dress anymore because it's all
me too. But I'm kind of starting to feel bad about it. Honestly, I got to start wearing real pants again. Really, it's
like this whole pandemic like changed how we usually dress, like how we
absolutely
style.
Is there even such a thing as fashion anymore? What is
exactly? No one's
fashion?
no one cares about fashion anymore. Like since the pandemic, we're always home. We just don't care how we look. Or
we should honestly just start wearing I know people already do wear the cutoff shirts, but really we could just cut them off at our shoulders now. We could just
yeah, we should just don't care how we look. Just come to weight the shoulders down. We just don't.
Yeah. We could make a whole company where we just sell like the top parts of hoodies and just have different colors and different designs and not even do the whole thing. We'll save a bunch on material. Come on, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Just send me something. We had to plan this. We had to plan something. So you like you're talking about before, you have like you host your own show. How did it come out? How did the idea come for that?
Well, so I started listening to radio. I'm a huge fan of radio, terrestrial radio, the old school radio. Growing up, I would listen all the time. Like I would listen to, I don't know if you know the show Loveline. They used to do this old show. People would call in and talk about their relationship issues and things. And I would listen to that like at night, like in my room alone in the dark, and radio can be so like intimate, really, I feel. And it can be like an intimate experience between you and the host because it feels like they're talking right at you sometimes or to you anyway. And so I have just always loved radio. I love sports radio. I love, like I said, like shows like Loveline, like kind of morning zoo shows. I love it all. And so then when podcasting came around, I started listening to all these podcasts. And then the beauty of podcasts is that they can be really only about like whatever you're into in a good way, or they can be very specific subject wise. So when Awkward and the TV shows and some acting projects were kind of coming to an end, I was like, what am I going to do next? And, podcasting was becoming popular, and it's I don't want to say easy to get into then because there were a lot of hoops to jump through back then. But once you got it up and running, it's like, it's just on you and your own work ethic and your own creativity and your own stick-to-itiveness at that point. I'm into all of those things.
Yeah,
I think
100%.
I want to have a motor. I never want to stop moving, like a shark or something, So like, it was just a way of being able to continue to be creative, still get to have fun with my friends, do a show in the style that I wanted to do, and really have nobody telling me that I can't, no bosses, no network, no, no script to go off of or anything. And it's just, to me, I love having that blank canvas. And so radio was the medium for me, and podcasting in the world luckily has evolved to a place where I can take advantage of what was something I've loved my whole life.
Oh, absolutely. Like radio and like podcasting have been my entire life, like you said, because every time me and my father would go places, even if it's just down the road or something, I'll always have my dad come on, turn on. I don't know if you heard of it, but Kiss FM. I don't know if you heard of it.
Yeah.
So with Ryan Seacrest, and like I'll be Dad, turn this on. He's like, I always like to listen to people's opinions on whatever is in the industry or whatever, sports or whatever. And I didn't get into podcasts until like 2 years ago. I didn't get into it. And so like, there's so many podcasts now, and that's really why I started this, because like there's so many people doing it. At first it wasn't easy because I was like, how am I going to get in contact with these people? And so like, how am I going to work this in my schedule, see my family, other things I enjoy doing? So I'm like, how is this going to work? But like when I started, it was like perfect timing for me, because since first like at home, we can't do anything. And at that time I was bored out of my mind, and I'm like, I think this would be perfect. Yeah. But now since the world is opening right now, so like, so I'm like, how am I going to balance so many things at once?
I know you've given yourself a problem, haven't you? Because it's so much fun. Like I couldn't ever stop doing this. I mean, I think that all the time as the world opens up. I'm like, there might be auditions and meetings again. I don't know. I kind of love this, but I mean, I could never stop acting and stuff. But you know what I mean? It's like you kind of give yourself this kind of really cool, creative blank canvas, scratches that itch problem.
Yeah, like as much sometimes when I think like, I need a break, I need other things to do, I'm like, and then I'm thinking to myself, like, I can't stop doing this.
Can't give up. No, yeah. And
like, I love it now.
Well, and the fun thing about podcasting is like it can evolve, it can change, it can grow with you. And and like I said, like nobody can tell you not to do it, which is the best part.
Absolutely. You can do anything. Like no one can stop you, even though you might hate it. We're like, oh, don't care. You have your own
And the hardest part is taking the first step, right? And
Yeah.
for me, it was as well. I called a friend of mine. His name is Marty. He's a buddy. We've been friends forever. And the first version of my very first podcast show was calling him and just saying like, hey man, like I've met a lot of other actors over the years. I've worked with people who have followings and are, name type people that people would recognize. And so why don't I just try to call them? I have their numbers. I never use them after we're done working together. No one ever, that's a kind of a secret thing, or maybe it's not such a secret anymore, but people don't ever really stay in touch after projects, not for any reason other than just people get busy and they live life and, everybody's doing their own thing. But so the whole point of our first show was like, maybe I'll try to get in touch with some of these people and like talk and bring them on and have a conversation. And so that's what we started doing. But that first step is so hard. Just calling the friend or setting up the website or figuring out what it takes to get an RSS feed, right? But like once you go through it, like then you're off and running. So like I hear from people all the time that are like, I want to do my own, but I just can't take that first step. And it's like, I don't really know how else to tell you other than just like, you got to just get pushed out of the nest and go for it.
Yeah,
There's
100%.
really, you can delete it. You can always delete it later.
Yeah, you can always delete it later. Like sometimes I think like when I'm watching past interviews, like I don't need to listen to my past interviews because I just hate listen, I still speak. And I just don't know why, but I just hate it. And like you said before, like reaching out to people you may or may not know. I'm like, sometimes like most of these people I never even met. And so some of these people I liked or may not liked or may never heard of. So I'm like, in like two people, I'm trying to get my aunt and my cousin on my podcast are journalists. And sometimes I think like, oh, it's just probably gonna be awkward having my
yeah.
Like it's not awkward, but it's just like it's kind of crazy. You have to push your family aside and go into kind of professional mode. I sometimes I think like, oh, I'm probably gonna say aunt in the interview and then I can't say it. I'm like, oh no.
Well, okay. Can I tell you something I've learned in all of this is that people love to talk about themselves. They really do. Don't ever underestimate someone's desire to talk about themselves. And we really don't have that many people say no all that often, because who doesn't want to come on and talk about their TV show or their successes or whatever. So I always ask, because also if they say no, it's like, it's not that big a deal. We've all been turned down for a million things a million times. What's one more, right? But
yeah, exactly.
They might say yes. So, don't ever stop asking. I mean, look, here I am.
Yeah, who you are, you're on. It's always on your side. Like, you never know until you ask.
Let's do it. Yeah. I mean, look, I don't ever check messages or I'm really bad at all of that on all social media, but every once in a while I will. And I saw your message and I was just like, what did I even say back? I think I just said like, let's do it. Right.
Yeah. I think so. Let's do it. I can't remember. Like
sometimes it's not that hard, like you never know who is on the other end. So always take that chance. I believe that in all things.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know if you heard of these people, Gina Davis, Patrick Dempsey, and Hugh Jackman. And like, they're really the reasons why I do this. Like, they're my idols. And Ellen Pompeo too. She helps me. She has her own podcast as well.
Cool.
And, like, they're my main people to get on. Like, main. I'm trying.
Yeah.
Couple of weeks, I'll email their agents or their whatever, and they're like, oh, I declined this. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Are you a fan of car racing?
Yeah, a little bit. Like I didn't get into it until like this year a little bit.
Here's how you get Patrick Dempsey. You study car racing, you get good at talking about car racing, and then you just tell him that all you want to talk about is car racing, and he'll probably come on and talk to you, because that's what he wants.
Exactly.
That's all he's
that's what I'm thinking.
That's what he loves the most,
Yeah, exactly. Like car racing or acting, either one.
No, just tell him you're never going to even ask about acting. You're only going to talk about car racing. And then, maybe you might slip in an acting question after like 20 minutes of talking about, I don't know, whatever kind of car racing he's into.
Yeah, I'm like, if I get him on, I'll be like, oh, I gotta do some research right now.
Yep. Everybody's into something. That's the thing. You just got to find the thing and then be a pit bull and just never let go of that T-bone. Persistence pays off. And that's all acting is anyway. You just go on a million auditions and eventually you meet enough casting directors, you meet enough people, you've been in town long enough, and then things start to fall into place, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, and even like when people say no, I'll be like, all right, it's okay. But if it's not, if I'm like a big fan of them, love their work, like Patrick Dempsey, Gina, like I said before, I'd be like, I was so upset that I think like I will be self-conscious about myself. And like I start bawling my eyes out. I'll be like, Mom, Dad, this is not gonna happen right now.
Well, okay, but you know what's funny though? Like I totally hear you. I totally hear you. But I've had this happen a couple times to me where, because I'm older than you think, and probably older than a lot of people think, and I had a long time before I ever got on TV, and I had a million jobs, hourly jobs, retail jobs, serving tables, bartending, all kinds of stuff, driving a mechanical bull. I've done it all. And what's funny is I've run into actors that I met from way back in the day at these jobs and stuff. And then I run into them on sets, and now we're both actors and we're working together. And they love the story of like, remember when I met you and you barely had the time of day for me? Now here we are. So
Yeah,
my point
exactly.
is always ask, because you're going to end up being like on a red carpet or whatever your ambitions are, like interviewing them, uh, in a sense where like you're coming at them from also this like power position after all of these years of putting in all of this effort, and they're going to be wishing they could be interviewed by you, and you're going to go like, hey, remember when you turned me down a long time ago?
Yeah,
It's going to be
yeah.
great. It's going to be great. And I can't wait to see their faces when that happens.
Or
And
remember when your agents turned me down a couple months ago?
yeah.
It's
Always
pretty
call them out.
hurtful.
I worked with there's an actress named Juliana Margulies, who is one of the most just beautiful creatures inside and out that has ever walked the planet Earth. And I rang her up as an employee at the Gap one time, a million years ago. And then we ended up being in a movie together, and we were just sitting there on set one day, and we're telling stories, and I was like, hey, Juliana, I got one. And she's like, what's up? And I told her, and she thought it was hilarious. I was like, I don't know. I never thought I'd be sitting here a year later. It's just funny how life works out, isn't it? And so
Exactly, yeah.
it all goes to that. Everyone's got a story, everyone comes from somewhere and all of that. And, it's important to be aware of that.
yeah, it's
As
crazy.
through
Like,
life, you know, I'm starting
yeah,
like
it's
an old man.
crazy. Like, it's crazy how a couple months ago you get declined a million times. Like, in
Yeah.
remember reaching out to her agents a million times a week.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Good
Now
for you.
remember,
Never stop. Never stop,
yeah.
Kylie. Keep it up.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not stopping until I get it. I don't care how long it takes. I'm not stopping. And
Good.
so, like, my parents like, Kylie, take a break. It takes time. Like, wake
It
up.
does.
Email every 3 months. And you say you're busy, whatever. I'm like, Mom, you don't get it. You don't get it. This
I
is my
love it.
dream. If you
I love
see me working hard on my podcast every single day, you will get it. But
I love it.
right
I
now.
love it. Never stop. Keep going. 100%.
So, as we're speaking kind of about like your show and stuff, what is your favorite part about working with Katie? I don't know why I said this wrong. Love, like
It's Leclerc. It's just Leclerc. There's a bunch
Leclerc.
of silent C's because I guess her family's has French origin. I don't know where that name comes from. But anyway, she's great. I mean, Katie and I met working on a movie 4.5 years ago now. I don't know, a while ago now. The movie's called Party Boat. It was for an app called Crackle, sorry, which I think is still around. You guys can go find it. But so we were both just actors that got hired to work on this movie. And also in the movie is my co-star from Awkward, Bo Merchoff, actually. He's in it with us. So the three of us just became really fast friends shooting this movie together. And I had already been doing this podcast, like I said, with my buddy Marty, and it would seem like it was maybe going to end. The guy who was producing it for us was moving on and moving out of town and all this. So one day I was just talking about this podcast and how it might end. And Katie, maybe to her chagrin now, I'm not really sure, but she spoke up and was like, I'll help produce that. I love that kind of stuff. I love working on projects and I want to get involved. And so I was like, okay. And sort of the rest is history. We just sort of put one foot in front of the other from there. But I mean, working with her is great. Like we have a really good time. Our show is on every single morning we're kind of like the Ryan Seacrest, if you will, show of this Adobe Radio network, which is just a great network. They're all about rock and roll and, you know, freedom. And they've been streaming on the internet for like close to 20 years, I think. They were one of the original streamers on the internet back in the old dial-up days. And so joining up with them has been awesome. They give us a ton of creative freedom, which is, you know, what I love. And we just have fun every single morning on there. We podcast it too. And then from that, we made a Seahawks podcast now that I do with a former player. His name's Lofa, and he's a complete badass. And so we do that for a sports network. I do a show called Release the Show about the Seattle Kraken, which is on the same sports network as our Seahawks show. It's called the Believe Sports Network. And again, they just give us freedom to be ourselves and a lot of support. So it's really cool. And then the other show I do is about being a dad. And that show I do with Nathan Kress, who is Freddie on iCarly.
Oh yeah, I'm obsessed with Nathan Kress.
Oh yeah,
Carly's my childhood. I'm obsessed.
Kylie, you got to check out our show. It's called Radioactive Dads, and we just sit around talking about being dads and actors, and you know, wax nostalgic about old timey things, and we have a bunch of fun on there. So those are all of our shows. You can find them wherever. Follow me on Instagram and all that, and you know, I'll show you the way to the shows, but like not in a like follow me kind of a way, but just like if you're interested, that's where you can find out more. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. We've been building these little families and, you know, little like listenerships for each show. And our morning show is fun. You can text us live while we're on the air and interact with us. And we play games for our audience. We, as prizes, if we're playing one of our games for you, if you win, we send you used chapstick from the desk, which is usually Katie's chapstick. And so we just send used chapstick to people. It's random and fun, and we're having a blast, you know, check it out. It's a good time.
Yeah, 100%. Like Nathan Kress and iCarly was exactly my childhood.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
iCarly was really the only show I watched as a kid. Like only show I watched. It was like I never want to stop watching. If someone says stop watching, I'd be like, no, you don't tell me what to do. I'm obsessed with this show.
Yeah.
And
Well, you and a lot of other people too. I mean, it's really cool. His followership is awesome, and Nathan's such a good dude, and like just another guy that I met. We met at a charity thing, and we just became friends. And you know, I was like, hey, you want to do this thing? And he said yes, and now we've been doing that for over 100 episodes, I think. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun. All you need is a Zoom. All you need is a Zoom and a microphone, everybody. That's all you need.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. Yo, you should actually ask Nathan to come on. I would love to have him on. You should ask him for me.
Well, hey, you ask him to come on, and I'll tell him to look out for the DM. All right.
Yeah, I ask him to look out the demo. Someone
message. All right.
Do that. And so, like before, you mentioned you're Seattle's. Like, are you a Seattle Seahawks fan?
Oh yeah, big time. I'm born and raised in Seattle, and I'm every Seattle sport. I'm wearing there's a vintage Seattle Seahawks Sonics hat. So
I love it.
Seattle. If it's Seattle, I'm in.
Oh, see, I'm actually, if people know me, I'm actually a huge Seattle Seahawks fan, actually.
Yes, all right.
Even though we took the pretty much L yesterday, but I'm very happy Russell Wilson is back 100%. He's my favorite player. He's the reason why I'm a Seahawks fan, is Russell Wilson. And I'm just happy he's back after being hurt for a couple of weeks. But how do you feel about the Seahawks season, like being 3-6, Russell Wilson coming back last night, and about Chris Carson getting hurt?
Well, okay, so they're 3-6, but they play 17 games, right? So that means they have a chance to go 11-6. So all hope is not lost. Let's calm down, everyone. Russell's back. They play the Arizona Cardinals next, who just lost, by the way, this last weekend. They got demolished. So they look like they could be got. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Our defense played really well against the Packers. They only gave up 17 points. And I mean, before the fourth quarter, they hadn't given up much at all. And it was Russ's first game back. So don't jump off the ship, everybody. Don't panic. We're going to be okay. And that's what we're talking about on the Seahawks podcast. Yeah.
Exactly. Like Russell Wilson, like I knew they're probably gonna lose. Like yesterday, because Russell Wilson's back and they were just adjusting him from being out a couple of weeks. I forget how long he was out, like 6-8 weeks, I think he was out.
He was out at least. He missed like 5 games, I think. right?
Yeah, at least 5 games. And so like, I remember watching a play. I'm like, oh, you better not be out for the rest of the season, or we're pretty much screwed.
I know. It's been a rough season, but hey, we're sports fans. You got to take the downs with the ups.
Exactly. Who do you have like a favorite player on the Seahawks, or you just like in general like everyone?
Oh, Russ for sure. DK Metcalf with, I mean, just that guy. He can't do no wrong in my eyes. What's
Exactly.
not to love
DK
about
Metcalf, no
it?
one's better than DK Metcalf for sure.
No, the dyed hair, the big muscles, like what's not to love about that guy? He's awesome. And he seems like a cool dude. And then on the other side, you got Bobby Wagner, middle linebacker. Like, of course, much respect to Bobby. He's been there the whole time. I mean, he's the Russell Wilson of the defense. And, he gets sort of overshadowed sometimes because, of course, the Russell's the quarterback, but Bobby
Mm,
Wagner is my man. I love that guy.
same here. I think I met actually Bobby Wagner 2 years ago, actually. I met
Oh,
him,
yeah.
yeah, after I went to my first Seahawks game 2 years ago in Pittsburgh because I'm from Pennsylvania. So I live by kind of 2 hours from Philadelphia. And so me and my dad traveled to Pittsburgh for see the Seahawks play for my first NFL game.
Yeah.
Like after the game, I believe they won that day, and so I was pretty hyped. I was like fired up. They were almost losing that game. They're seriously coming back, but we took the win. So I was pretty
Oh, I remember that game. That was like Thanksgiving week, like 4 years ago, 5 years ago. What year? Do you remember what it
wait,
was?
2019, September 2019.
Oh yeah, so like 3 seasons ago or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
right
I went
before.
down for my
Yeah,
birthday.
yeah,
So like, I
I remember
went
that.
down,
It was
and
that
I
was a
after
crazy game.
yeah, that was a crazy game. I was like
Back and
scared.
forth.
I was
Yeah.
crying. I was so nervous. I didn't want my first NFL game to be a loss. Like, I was like, I don't want this happening.
Oh,
Like Russell Wilson was
that
playing.
game was crazy. I remember that game. We should have lost that game like a bunch of times, but we ended up winning. It was back and
Yeah,
forth. Yeah, it's a lot of
and
fun.
so my dad's like, Kylie, why are you crying? They're still winning. I'm like, do you understand this game right now? Are you even paying attention?
Yeah, that was an all timer. Yeah, I love that
Yeah,
game.
and so like after the game, we found out where the players come out, and Bobby Wagner came over, and he was with his mom after the game,
Cool.
and like he asked me to come across the gate where he was standing, and I went over to the like across the gate where he was standing, and all the players were, and we took a picture. And he was so nice, like
That's cool.
that was like a better. I met other players, Shamil Griffin, I think his name was. I met
Oh,
too, like
deal. Yeah.
Griffin
Yep.
brothers.
Yep. Yep.
And so like it was pretty cool. No, like after I recognized I was Bobby Wagner, I was like, I like this guy. He,
That's awesome.
nothing better than that though. But
Yeah, no.
like you mentioned before, you were on MTV series Awkward. I don't know if I think it was just Awkward. So what was that like for you, like the experience?
Oh man, I mean, dream come true, in LA trying to get a job for a long time. Long process to get the job. I went all the way through the casting process for the character of Maddie, which is like the other guy on the show, and then went all the way back through it again for the character of Jake, which is what I ended up ultimately getting. So it's a long process to get it, and it's one of those things where you get the job, but in TV you only get the job to shoot the pilot, and you
Mhm.
never know if it's going to get picked up, and then even if it does, like how many episodes are you going to do and how long is it going to run. So um you're just hoping and praying for it the whole time that it'll get picked up and that people will enjoy it and it'll have a little bit of a run. And you know so grateful that we were able to do like the 5 seasons of the show. It's one of the best times in my whole life. Like I've met all of my best friends, really. Like we all still stay in touch, the whole cast, and talk all the time. And as a matter of fact, I this week we're having like a cast get together. We do these all the time, and it's just I mean, it gave me a lot. It's a really important piece of my life, and I can't even express to you how happy I am to have been a part of it. Really.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
What are you guys planning on doing? Do you have any like get together, like or a party to get together? What are you guys
Oh
planning?
yeah, yeah. No, we'll always, somebody will send out an invite, whatever, and then or an email, and then everybody gets together at someone's house, and we just like just whatever friends do, just eat, drink, hang out, tell stories of the old days, or whatever. And it's always fun. I mean, I see some cast members more often than others just because of lives and people's, schedules and things. But every time that we all get together, I can't fake how much I love all of the people on that show. And, and just how lucky I consider myself to have even been a part of it, and that we all do get along so well. Like I was talking about before, how sometimes people don't stay in touch, and with Awkward, that's definitely not the case, especially between the cast. And so I don't want to speak for them, but just if just from myself, it's just the greatest thing I've ever gotten a chance to be a part of.
Love it. So like, what is like a piece of advice for people that would love to become an actor or like a podcaster or love to be on a radio?
Well, podcasting, I'd say, is a little different than the advice for acting. Podcasting is have a strong idea, know what your show is about, right? And then just start doing it. You got to just hook up a microphone to a laptop. You don't have to worry about going on camera right away if you're shy or whatever. Just hook up a microphone, start talking into it, and then commit to putting whatever you do on the internet, because that's the thing that'll keep you doing it. If you just record it and then listen back to it and decide that you don't like the sound of your voice and then delete it or whatever, like you're probably never going to post the next one either. You got to just record it, and whatever comes out, and you're going to, make sure it sounds good and then throw it on the internet. With acting, I'd say the advice is a little different. Take class, get enrolled in a class, whether it's an acting class, just that's out there being offered by a local acting coach or acting school or whatever. Or if you're in school right now, college, high school, whatever, take acting class, start there. Get up on stage as much as possible and just make sure that you love the process of like breaking down a scene and figuring out a character and all of the things that are the fundamentals. That's first and foremost. And then after that, the advice is much like podcasting. If you really want to go for it, go for it. I mean, start sending your headshot everywhere. Look up the names and addresses of agencies. Send your headshot everywhere you can. It's old school, but hey, you never know. Start DMing. I mean, all these agents are probably online now. This isn't how I got my agents, but like, go after them, but armed with good stuff, armed with good tape of yourself in something, or doing a monologue where you crush it, and you think the performance is amazing. Go at them with stuff and never stop knocking on their door.
100%.
Shoot stuff yourself, put it online. Don't do it to try to get likes or views. Just record yourself doing a good scene with a friend of yours. Put it out there. Put it on your Instagram. I don't know. There's so much self-promotion these days that it's almost like, in some ways, maybe it's easier to get noticed than it was way back in the day. But then again, the business is so huge now that maybe it's a little harder. I'm not really sure. The thing is with these businesses, there's no method at all, which is also the beauty of it. If you want something bad enough, you just got to stick to it. I know these things sound like cliches, but it's what I've learned to be true. Everybody I know who has gone through all of the trials and tribulations and stuck it out and is still here are the ones who are making it. And, the ones who kind of give it a few shots and realize that it might not be for them and they're a little scared or whatever, that's fine. But they just, they don't find it again. You got to stick to anything, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I come from a very shy, anxiety, depressed little girl to a podcaster that's shy, talking to people she never met.
Yeah.
So I was always very shy to talk to people I never met. I never even like talking to people I even met. It's like, oh, I stick to these specific people, that I'll be fine. Like I said,
look at you. Look at you. You're crushing it.
Thank you. Like I'm now I don't care. I'm doing something I love. I need to get myself known. I don't care. I talk to people in the industry, make friends with them, do whatever I could to be able to get to know them and give people entertainment now. And as much as I could to try to help people that want to do podcasting or whatever you want to do.
I love it. I love it.
Like seriously, what could be better than that? Doing something you love. Like nothing's better.
Nothing. Exactly. And if you can figure out a way to monetize it, which is a conversation about, advertising and sponsors and, these networks and this and that. And it's the same thing. you do your podcast enough times, you put out enough episodes, you get like really solid material, and then you go after these places. It's the same thing, right? I think I don't know, a lot of industries are kind of the same. They work like this. You put in the hours, you put in the work, then you just keep evolving and going after bigger and better things for yourself, because no one's going to advocate for you like you can. Then yeah, just put one foot in front of the other. There's what other choice do you have, right? If you really love it.
Yeah, exactly. What other choice do you have than doing something you enjoy? No one can tell you different.
Yep.
So, like, do you have anyone particular that inspired you to take the path of an acting career?
Well, I went to elementary school growing up, elementary school and middle school that do really big productions, musicals and theater productions and stuff. And so I was just kind of always a part of those. And so I got bit by the being on stage and getting an applause when you're in fourth grade kind of a bug. And then I kind of started watching movies and getting really inspired by like other actors and filmmakers and stuff like throughout high school. But really the thing that got me at first was just being up on stage in front of people and the sort of rush and adrenaline that comes from that. And then like throughout high school and starting to watch like the classics, you know, like all these like 70s films and Coppola and The Godfather and, you know, Shawshank Redemption and like all the like the good, like juicy stuff that I missed when I was younger. And so I just, you know, got inspired by all of that and sort of the way that they tell a story and they don't apologize for it and they don't have to explain it to the audience. And they tell things in such a real, like kind of raw, stripped down way that I love. And so that's what we try to do on all of our shows. You know, it's just really like be our authentic selves as much as we can. And so I'd say, yeah, I take inspiration from all of that stuff. One actor in particular, I mean, it'd be hard to just pick out one. I think right now, I think that Christian Bale does like such interesting stuff. If you want like a big time kind of Hollywood actor to look at, I think he's just so interesting. All of his performances are always just so different and he brings so much to each one of them. Yeah, I always love watching his stuff. I get inspired by him. I'll stick with him.
Yeah, I forget. Christopher Bale is such an icon. Like he's one of the actors that you can't like resist watching their movies. Like
absolutely
watching them. But another icon that I'm sure you probably heard this guy, but Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler.
Did you resist Adam Sandler?
Did you say I haven't heard of him?
I don't know if you have. I'm sure you have.
Oh yeah, 100%. Of course, I grew up with Adam Sandler. That's my. Me and my father are obsessed with Adam Sandler. That I can literally watch his movies all day, any day. I won't get annoyed at all. Adam Sandler is the perfect example of doing what you love to do, doing your style all the time, and finding an audience, right? Like he can do the very serious sort of like Uncut Gems or what's the other one? Punch Drunk Love, right? Or Rain Over Me. He's done these like serious roles, right? But then he's done his like little gobbity whatever, and it's weird. I don't get it. I don't know where it came from, but it's a style. He found an audience, and hey, why not? You know, he's just such an example. Like in those movies where he's going gobbity, like. Is it the greatest acting in the world? Of course not. Is it the greatest movie in the world? Of course not. But we love it, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the whole point. It's like you can never determine what an audience is going to love. You got to just be true to yourself and go for it, right? Yeah, exactly. He's a perfect example of that. Yeah, like Happy Gilmore, Grown Ups, and all those movies. Yes. Like those movies are iconic. Like no movie is better than those two. Like that's probably I love Happy Gilmore, Grown Ups. Yeah, he found his niche. He found his audience. Good for him. Yeah. And also Dwayne Johnson is also an icon. Well, speaking of finding your niche, right? Like find that audience and then just hammer it. Yeah, and Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. What can you say? The Rock. If you hear The Rock, that means something. You have that nickname for a reason. Like, don't take that away.
Like Dwayne Johnson, like is literally why I'm literally so confident in myself is because of him.
Cool.
Like he's an icon, and I really grew up with him. That I'm like, oh yeah, he's literally an icon. I mention every time someone says a rock, I'm like, do you mean an actual rock or you mean
The Rock? Because there's only one.
yeah? There's only one true answer for that. So, what is like the most difficult thing for you about being an actor?
Nothing. Anyone who tells you there's like, it's not. I got to tell you, I'm going to be honest with you, Kylie. It's the greatest. And I mean, what's the hardest part? Not getting a job when you're auditioning, I guess. But I mean, if you talk about once you get the job,
Better than that, like that's
an early morning, I guess, every once in a while, like there's really not too much to complain about once you got the job. Getting the job is the hardest part. There's plenty to complain about there. I mean, which I guess I can do, like, the driving all over the town, the getting told no by casting directors, the getting told from your agent, like, well, if you wear this will work. And then who knows if that's even right. You get new headshots every time someone gets bored. But once you get the job, it's the greatest thing on earth. There's nothing difficult about it.
exactly. Nothing's better. I'm not like when you realize you get a job, you're like, okay, I'm done stressing. I don't care. At least I got a job. That's all I care about. I can work.
Yeah, I love any job that when you think back on the hard parts, you don't remember them.
Yeah, exactly. Like some people don't even remember their like iconic roles I saw. Like there's some videos I saw. Oh, like some people, actors don't remember their iconic roles.
Yeah.
How can you not remember your iconic role? Because
Yeah.
a memory can't live without, basically.
I don't remember a lot of awkward episodes, and like some people will come up, they recognize me out there or whatever, and they'll talk about an episode. And I'm like, it takes me a minute to like, what? Oh yeah, I don't even remember that one. It's weird. I don't know why that is, but it's real. I'm not faking it.
Yeah, it's real. Some people like there's like so many episodes in a show or like a movie, like Grey's Anatomy, for example, there's 18 seasons, like you can't remember which scene it is.
Yeah, forget it. That would be a nightmare.
Yeah, that mean never like what season episode was it? Like I remember if you tell me the episode and season, then it'll click. But some like a show like that, it's like kind of hard to remember like what scene you're exactly talking about, or like a character or something. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, totally.
So, like the final question for the interview is: if you could choose any actor or actress in the industry to work with, who would it be?
Oof, that's a good one. Anyone to work with, huh? I'm gonna, you know what? Denzel Washington.
Oh, Denzel Washington. Oh yeah.
Might as well shoot for the top. Might as well. I mean, or one of them. I mean, he's amazing. His roles, he's iconic. The way he goes after a role, I really love and admire the way he goes after a character. I mean, just plays everything with that intensity. It feels like I don't think he's ever takes a take off. You know what I mean? Like I feel like he just brings it. And that would just be inspiring, motivating. You learn a lot. He seems like he'd be fun and funny, charming, of course. Yeah, that's my answer.
Oh, that's like a perfect answer. No one is better than Denzel Washington for sure.
I don't think so. No, he brings it.
For sure. I remember like I was hearing Ellen Pompeo podcast. Is that like that's my favorite podcast. I told you before I love Ellen Pompeo. And so like I remember they like when she did an interview with Patrick Dempsey, and I remember listening to it, and he directed an episode of Grey's Anatomy. I don't know what episode or season it was. He never mentioned it. I'll get back to you on that if I find the answer. And I remember like Denzel drove her kind of, I don't want to use this type of word, but like kind of drove, I would say insane. Now let's go with the word. And so like Ellen decided to go yell at this guy because he wasn't looking at her in the eye when he was apologizing in the scene. And like Denzel like was screaming at her, like, you can't do that. I'm the director. You don't tell me what to do. I'm like,
really?
And she was like, listen to me, buddy. you don't know where the bathroom is. Like, you don't know who you're talking to. I run this show. I'm like, okay. I'm like,
Wow.
you tell him. Not a lot of people do that. Like,
No, I
especially
wouldn't.
Denzel Washington. Like, seriously.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't either.
I'm like, once I heard that for the first time, I'm like, you told that to Denzel Washington?
Oh, wow. Wow. I don't know. That's awesome. That's
Like, it's
crazy.
crazy. I'm like, you really told an icon that. That's like mind blowing. So I just want to thank you so much for coming on, taking some time out of your day to come on my podcast. It really means a lot. I could really sit here and talk to you all day. And
Oh,
like
me too. Kylie. No, Kylie, thank you so much for having me on. And seriously, congratulations with everything that you're doing. Not that you ever will, but don't ever stop. And yeah, let me know. I mean, don't be a stranger, okay?
no, 100%. We'll definitely stay in contact for sure. So like
Cool.
keep in contact, and we'll definitely stay in touch, and maybe we'll do something like another podcast episode soon.
Absolutely. It'd be my pleasure.
Of course. Thank you so much, and we'll definitely speak soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Bye, guys.